Welcome to an experiment. Your first step along the journey to discover what it truly takes to be your dog's emotional support team. Over the last almost decade, I've been a dog trainer. I've seen pretty much all the cases of dogs that fight and bite and bark and growl, dogs that look dangerous but aren't, dogs that don't look dangerous but very much are. And no matter what the situation or the behavioral challenge that the dog has, there's a lot of different ways that we can teach a dog to do or not do something. But when it comes to dogs with real deep behavioral issues, they need a few things before we can even get to teaching them how to do or not do things. They need to feel safe. They need to be fulfilled. And they need stable leadership. When I look back on training dogs over the years, almost nothing is the same as it was when I first started training dogs. From my abilities or understanding to the techniques or the beliefs that I have about how dogs exist and learn in the world. But one of the first things that I remember learning about dogs is that dogs follow stable leadership. And no matter what challenge I've had with dogs, and no matter what challenge I've had with myself, always find mental stability is one of my biggest challenges. Now, a lot of you are going to land on the same page because I tend to gather a quite neurodivergent audience. I usually sum it up as emotions are harsh, and I train reactive dogs because I do one. But the truth is that over the last 20 years, I spent a ton of time learning to control my own emotions, both for the improvement of my own life and my ability to be a stable leader for dogs that are increasingly unstable and difficult to keep everything together while they're trying to eat me. One of the things I love most about having a pretty big TikTok following is that it has given me the ability to have conversations with hundreds and hundreds of dog owners. And we always seem to run into this difficult space to navigate when I say dogs follow stable leadership. And that makes the dog owner feel like my dog is having anxiety or difficulty in situations. And that definitely can be true. And for the longest time, I wanted my holders to practice their leash handling, their rewarding, their obedience with their dogs, because I always say competence builds confidence. And while that is true, it left me with kind of the same thing that we used to do with the dogs, is that idea of teaching a place command so the dog doesn't go jump on someone as they come in the front door. Now, don't get me wrong. If that's the way you solve that issue with your dog and it works perfectly for you, amazing. Keep doing it. There's nothing wrong at all with that. However, digging deeper into the issue, I can say, well, do I want the dog to go to the place bed, or do I want the dog to understand he's not allowed to jump on guests? Do I want the dog to understand that he should be able to control his own emotions, even when exciting things are happening? And that's why we teach dogs on every single level of all the training that we do to calm down. Get excited, calm down, get excited, calm down, get excited, calm down. It's the core of everything I teach. So that if I teach that to dogs to help them through their big feelings and emotional issues, then why am I not also teaching that to humans? And it's exactly what's led us to this point to start this podcast right here today, is the intersection of the two biggest things that I had ever done in my life are right here. What are those two things? How do we get here? Let's talk about dog training first, since That's why most of you are here. So again, I've been training dogs for almost a decade. I started working under Bo Harrison, who is my older brother and owns Cranky Canine in Collinsville, Illinois. In the beginning, dog training was just a job. A dog, a piece of paper that said, teach the dog this lesson today. And I did that with dog after dog after dog. And in the very beginning, I really did feel like a cog in the machine. And at that time, my training didn't really revolve around anything that the dog actually needed or wanted. It just involved me making the dog do the thing that I wanted. Which you can't work with dog after dog after dog without those dogs teaching you something. And this is why when I talk about dog trainers and when people ask me what to look for with a dog trainer, and when people ask me what they should be doing as a prospective dog trainer, the answer is always hands-on dogs, hands-on dogs, hands-on dogs. Now, we'll talk here a little bit about some of the dogs that have taught me some specific things. But the truth is that feeling of being in a factory and dog after dog after. And very soon I began to see the subtle differences between each dog, which led me further and further and further down the path towards every dog is an individual. Every dog is intelligent, emotional, and dare I say, sentient. So as I'm working in this training facility and getting a bigger and bigger role and having more success with more difficult dogs, the beauty of working at Cranky Canine for my brother was that an hour a day was spent between the two of us just arguing and digging into different theories and different thoughts about the way dogs learn and think and what we can achieve and how to do it. And it really became this really awesome little incubator of dog training ideas between my brother and I. Once he saw that I was serious, he did one of the most awesome things that has happened to me in my life. And he sponsored me to go to Napopo Silver and learn really, really, really in depth about dogs, motivations, the things that make them feel and do and go. From that education, a fire was lit that created the enormous passion that each and every one of you see on my social media pages. And from there, it really just became this challenge of, here is a dog that I am struggling to communicate with. I am struggling to connect with. And how can I do that? Who can I learn with? Where can I go? And through that process, then I discovered the power of play and emotional fluency from Jay Jack. I had a challenge to train a dog without using any tools from Chad Mathin. Just became such a student of dog training and trying to find all of the various different ways that I can find the answer when it's not in front of me. And the answer always seems to come back to, who is my dog? How can I make them happy? How can I make them feel safe? And how can I lead them to their best life possible? So far, everything sounds like a pretty normal path to become a dog trainer. Well, it wasn't the career of a dog trainer that has led me to this very interesting intersection. But it's what I did in the 15 years previously as a hypnotist that really started my interest in psychology and behavior and why we do things and how we can change those things that we do to live a better life. I learned hypnosis from my dad, who did once in a while as a little something fun on the side. I would go with him and set up his microphone and a couple of lights and always try to get him to walk out to cooler music or let me make a strobe effect. He would say, okay, but then he would totally forget that I did it by the time he went on stage. Anyways, so after a few years of watching him do his show again and again, it was time for me to do a senior project in high school. And I chose to hypnotize a few members of my high school English class. Went pretty well. At the end of that, my dad said, hey, you're pretty good at this. Maybe you could make a couple bucks. And a few months later, I was the one on stage, the neighboring high school's post-prom, making all the kids laugh so hard they fell out of their chairs or pretend to be their favorite celebrity. To be perfectly honest, I'm pretty proud of the run I had. I had a standing gig at a comedy club that would bring a few hundred people once a month. I got on the St. Louis affiliates of Fox, ABC, and NBC. I had a local paper with 100,000 people circulation give me a page-and-a-half article. I was pretty proud of the career that I was building. To be perfectly honest, if I had been diagnosed 10 years earlier, we might not be making this podcast. And just like I have mentors in dog training, I have mentors in hypnosis. And through some of those relationships and mentorships, in hypnosis, Paul Ramsey, Ted British, and some others who I'm sure you'll meet along the way on the podcast, I began to take the idea of hypnosis and the possibility of using the power of our own brains to change our own behavior to live our best lives very serious. And I really learned how amazing the human mind is and what's possible when we use our most powerful tools to our advantage. And I would say that doing that hypnotic change work with folks to help them lose weight, quit smoking, or just achieve their goals and live their best lives was a lot more impactful for myself than a lot of my clients. And of course, as I became a better and busier dog trainer, I did less and less of the change work. Of course, less stage shows at 2:00 in the morning. But I always maintained my own personal skill set and bag of tools that I could use when things got really tough. One of them was when my mom got sick, when I went through a divorce, or working with a particularly challenging dog. That skill set of being able to calm myself, control my emotions while not perfect, is invaluable and something that I continue to practice as many days as I can be consistent with. So I brought you here to the intersection of human psychology or self-care and dog training. What the hell are we doing here? Well, you're to join me as I research for my passion project. I've been thinking about the best way to teach you to be your dog's emotional support human for at least 3 years now. And what I realized when I really started to dig in was I need a little more information. I have some amazing friends that help humans make amazing changes every single day. And I know of some people bouncing around the internet that I really want to talk to. So what we're going to do is learn more about ourselves so that we can help our dogs. We're going to blur the line between dog and human psychology. And we're going to anthropomorphize the shit out of our dogs. Why? Because you think like a human. So even if the ways that I explain dogs, or even if we talk about concepts that we cannot confirm are the way the dogs think and feel, if it makes sense to you and your human brain, then that's what works for you and your dog as a team. Then comes the fun part. After we've had these conversations with these amazing practitioners, I'm going to bring the only other job I was ever really passionate about into the mix. Now it's being a bartender. So what I mean by that is we're going to take my dog training knowledge, our mental health, self-care knowledge. We're going to put it together in the cocktail shaker that is my brain, shake it up and see if we can drain out dog training exercises that allow you to demonstrate your superior emotional stability for your dog so that you can show them that you are the emotional support human that they need. Very, very little of this is going to actually feel what dog training. Because the truth is, most dog owners don't really train their dogs. They see the things that we dog trainers do: sit, come down, stay, heel, go over there and speak the marshmallow man, bring me my keys, whatever, as really cool tricks. And so when it comes to dogs with behavioral issues, they don't need really cool tricks. They need safety, stability, biological satisfaction, a great relationship, and good leadership. For as long as I can remember, when talking to my clients, I've always said I train reactive dogs because I am one. In the beginning of my dog training career, I would use that as an excuse. When I would go to the park and I would be working on leash walking and recall with a aggressive, reactive, or even dangerous dog. And here comes Johnny Go Lightly and his golden retriever off leash without a care in the world. And because I didn't have the ability to control my own emotions, my fear would trigger me into thanks to my cold. That would then incite the reactivity and or aggression in the dog that I was trying to teach the dog not to do. In that very moment, I wanted to project the problem onto the off-leash dog. But as the leader of the on-leash dog and the one who knows what they're doing in the situation, I should be able to guide that dog through that situation without problem. And I can, as long as I stay calm and in control of my emotions. I find it so interesting to think about the path from that guy who did that when in the park to the guy that I am now, and all of the various factors in and around my life that caused that guy to do that way, which were a lot more about not having emotional control and the overall cumulative stress of the situation, as opposed to actually responding to what was actually happening. I always have the day in my mind where I had a legitimately aggressive dog on the leash, and a guy entered the park. I could still remember he was wearing black sweats and a long sleeve white shirt, and one of his dogs was like black and white lab pitty. And he was just throwing the frisbee, and the dog was bringing it back, and throwing the frisbee, and the dog would bring it back. The problem was they were right outside the parking lot, 300 yards from the fenced-in dog park where you're allowed to be off leash. And then for me, being the 30-year-old toxic straight white guy at the time, this is pre-therapy, I just started scoring, "You son of a bitch, you're not allowed to have your dogs off leash. But if those dogs come over here, and I was just irate, just absolutely flat out. And it just so happened, as I turned around, of course, the dog that was on the leash, he just absolutely exploding, right? You think that I had to do some defensive leash handling to stop the dog from redirecting and biting. Right? It was a stupid situation that I caused. And I turn around and walk back to my car, and I put the dog in the car, and I'm huffing and puffing, and I look up, and there is a city cop sitting, 100 feet behind my car. And I walk over to the cop and I go, "Hey, is there a leash law in this town?" And he goes, "Yeah, there is." And I go, "Well, that dude right there is outside the dog park. He's got 2 dogs. They're off leash. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to with this dog, and he has a right to be here. But if they come and cause a problem, he's going to be the one that gets in trouble because he's going to actually do something about it when that's the guy that's breaking the law." And the cop looks back at me and he goes, "Are you the one that I just heard scream from 300 feet away?" Because I was about to get out of my car because it sounded like somebody was about to be in danger. And I thought, you mean I'm just not allowed to run around and act like an irate asshole just because that guy broke a rule that isn't really causing problems? Yeah, that's, yeah, I'm totally say that I was in the wrong in almost any other situation. And I just went there and got my car. And that really is one of the very impactful situations that really began to show me that it is my behavior that guides not only the dog's behavior. Remember, I almost got it, but also everything else that happens around me. Because do you think that that guy with those 2 off-leash dogs is ever going to put his dogs on leash because I acted like that? Absolutely not. No way. The more you tell people they're wrong, the more you come at them unkind, the less you're going to make any kind of impact. And that, I think, is why I want to put out into the world all this information. It is there if you want it. I would love to have you along the way. Would love to have you comment on this. Let us know what you think of the journey and what you're excited for and what you want to learn about. You need, but I don't want to tell people that they're doing it wrong and that I'm the only way and that they have to come with me. And I certainly don't want to make anybody feel like they're terrible when they're just living their life with their dog, even doing it right. Because like we can't know what we're doing right or wrong if we just go, no. Dogs are pretty amazing and easy. And a lot of people get along just fine without knowing. And which is both good and biggest problem in dogs. All along that. When I think about that moment at the park and I think about reactive dogs and dogs with behavioral problems, why they are acting the way they are, why dog owners struggle so much to help those dogs get through those issues, is because those issues are emotional. Those issues come from fear. They come from anxiety. They come from a misunderstanding. And the thing that you can't do is guide your dog that is unsure and uncomfortable if you are unsure and uncomfortable. So in our world where it's all about 2-week board retreats and 6-week group classes, and as business owners, we are all told you cannot sell something if you're not promising any fast and easy results. It can be very difficult to give you the real answer, which is learn to guide your dog, learn to understand your dog, teach your dog how to build confidence to make them feel safe. And the truth is that if you really want to help your dog live their best life, have the most fun being safe, help them with their anxieties and their fears so that you can take your dog to the park, enjoy life's game of fetch, a nice walk without feeling embarrassed, stressed, concerned, wanting to give up. We've all been there, whether it's dog training or anything else in life that's just hard. So if we can learn to be the emotional support human that our dogs, then we can also learn other strategies that are going to make us more confident, resilient, less anxious, and reactive to the world that we live in. Because the truth is that you and your dog are a team. And if they are reactive, you react. If they are stressed, you are stressed. And vice versa. We'll talk about through this journey how dogs are extremely perceptive to your emotional states. Whether that's because they can hear your heartbeat, smell your change in pheromones, or whether you believe that you, me, the dog, and the coffee table are all the same things, we just vibrate different frequencies. Whatever works for you, we are connected to our dogs. And it's our job to guide them through the world. So make sure that you tap the like button, share this podcast with anybody that you know that has a dog, and let me know what you think or what you want to learn along the way. I promise that I'm going to do everything I can to find the coolest people with the coolest techniques to help both you and your dogs. Hopefully, they are not going to be people you expect, or if they're the people you expect, we're going to get them to talk about things that you don't expect so that we can actually create something very real and very different that is going to help you and your dogs live your best lives together. Until next time, be your dog's emotional support human.